Good to be there this morning. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Improving Access to Psychological Therapy service, or the Psychological Wellbeing service as we are now calling it locally here in CPFT. I just wanted to give a little bit of a context in terms of history to start with. So in the beginning, or at least in 2003 or 4, there wasn't anything called IAPT. And then some things happened which may have been just they were the right time, or it may have been serendipitous. But this chap, Lord Layard, health economist, was very interested in kind of happiness and health of the nation. And he was elected to join the British Academy. And he went along to a tea party there. Now, I'm not saying it was like the Mad Hatter's tea party, but there is some interesting psychology, Alice in Wonderland. And he met another chap called, what was his name? David Clarke. And he's a leading proponent of CBT in Great Britain. And they got together, talking over their cup of tea, about a massive gap in services, a gap for people with mild to moderate mental health problems and lack of access to psychological therapy. And over the course of those discussions and a whole range of other bits of work, IAPT was formed. And just to put it into some kind of context, IAPT services now across the country will see this year about 900,000 people new into treatment, psychological therapies. Now that, just for a bit of context, is the population of Cambridgeshire and the population of Peterborough and the population of St Albans, all entering psychological treatment this year and then next year and then the year after and so on. So it's a pretty massive programme. Here within Cambridgeshire, within the services that CPFT provide, that's about 1,000 people per month, every month, this month, next month, and going forward. There's a lot of people involved there. You will probably recognise this, the step care model, and this is another way of describing the structure of services and some of the gaps that Manan talked about at the beginning. So we have primary care that roughly sits around here within the step care model, about step 0, step 2, some identification of mental health problems or psychological difficulties, but people getting on. Up here at the top, secondary care, at step 3, step 4, and so on. And our IAPT services, or psychological wellbeing services, sort of sandwiched there in the middle. So they are already, IAPT, PWS services are meeting the needs within a gap in services. You'll see this doesn't look like it looked on my thing, so there was a gap there. They now overlap, which maybe is a sign for things to come. But there is, as Manan said, there is a gap between the complexity of problems that someone within an IAPT service can have help with, and those that are then able to be met by our secondary care services. And we certainly are doing some work at the moment to try and bridge that gap and operate some shared care across those things, so that people can access both the support of a secondary care team to hold them and provide that support that's needed, and access psychological therapy services when they need it. That's very much a sort of systems and services level. I just wanted to talk very briefly about, well, what does this actually mean at a personal level? Who are we talking about? We're talking here, as described. No, this is from one of our kind of recent publicity posters. Talking about people who are feeling low, feeling stressed, feeling anxious, feeling worried, or feeling burnt out. And I think it's easy to look at these words and say, well, you know, I've had all of those this week. But I think to put this into some meaningful context, this is what we're talking about here are people who are the mother of 2 who is depressed, who has a young 2.5-year-old child, but because of how she feels, because of a loss of motivation, is unable to get out to get to the toddler group, is unable to take her slightly older child to the school gate, relies a lot on other people. Is very much restricted in what she's able to do, restricted in how she's able to support her family. We're very much talking about problems which interfere with people's everyday lives all the time. We're talking about, we're here in an academic institution at the university, but we're potentially talking about a student who has an anxiety problem or an obsessional compulsive problem. And that means that he or she struggles to get out in a timely way in the morning because they're having to check or wash their hands, or are just very, very anxious about being in situations in front of lots of people. And you can see that that might have an impact on their education, their social development and involvement. So these are things that impact on people's lives. They impact on my life, on your life, your neighbours, your family, your friends, your parents, your children. All those people that are connected to us. And IAP services, our psychological wellbeing services, are there to try and support people to find some meaning, find some understanding, to learn skills, to learn approaches and learn techniques to overcome some of those difficulties, and to move forward in life, to engage again, to be involved in all of the things that people do and want to do. Through these interventions, people are able to change the direction of their life, to change the trajectory of their lives, and to learn skills that help them now when they have treatment and into the future. Okay, thank you.